I'm also in special education and seeing how things are going these days, you don't have enough candles. So this morning I came with a little bit of a different plan. I'm not going to do a lot of speaking, and some of you are going to do the work. The whole concept today is about the idea of playing being a healing motion, healing movement. So we're going to learn to play today. In my experience, especially working with global percussion, working with different cultural groups, one of the things I've learned is musicians always play together, but drummers in particular. You know, I can get behind a drum set and I can do the work of 5 drummers. I can get behind the congas, I can do the work of 3 or 4 drummers. But in that very traditional sense, everybody played a part. So you see congas set up here like I would set them up at any normal performance. But the truth is, I would probably only be sitting behind one. Somebody else would sit behind the next, somebody else would sit behind the next. And Some of you are probably very familiar with what drumming circles are, and everybody comes and brings a drum and they all participate and play together. Well, there's a healing mentality that often gets overlooked through that. I think for me, on a personal level, it becomes more personal because even though I've been playing drums since childhood, it has been a healing experience for me through many different times in my life. Having grown up in abuse, having a younger adulthood in hardship, having a few years, part of my adulthood being shattered because I got sick. These were all pivotal points in my life where I could come back to playing. But when you look around the world, especially non-Western, but more traditional drummers, there is that healing aspect, whether it be Native American shamanism of the Inuit people or of the Hawaiians, even the shamanism that exists among the Tuvan people in northern Siberia, as well as South Africa, East and Central Africa, the shaman that they have there, who very simply will bring a small drum and a shaker as part of their healing practices. But in the broader scale, when you look at the African traditional religions, the ATRs, or as we commonly call them today, Santeria, Voodoo, Palo Mayombe, those traditions, they have specific bembes, specific celebrations, sometimes called Misa Blancas, the white tables, that are all about healing. And playing drums tends to be part of that ritual. Although I should admit, singing is also a big part of that ritual. But if any of you have heard me sing, you know why I stick to drums. So I'm going to start out with the congas, a simple little pattern. And then I'm going to start sharing around the room. Some of you will be coming up here, and some of the instruments I'll be passing out. And if this is too loud for anybody, please feel free to say so. This is it's a hard floor and a high ceiling and a lot of glass, so maybe a little louder. As my wife Diane can tell you, the little room that I actually built my drum set in can get pretty loud even with brushes. So. Seems hard. It's not really. So I'm going to invite a few of you up here. And I'm going to switch seating positions as well. But first, I'm going to pass out a few shakers. Does anybody here want to play a large shaker? All right. Yes, if you don't volunteer, I will volunteer you. Pick one. Okay. I need another large shaker player. You want that one? I need a couple of small shaker players.
What don't you have? Very little. I had most of what everybody is. Yeah, she has one of those things with their phone. One of the the symbol. No. I will, she will go there, it's for it working. I don't know whether I have to put the side of that. Oh, it tells me that black hole. It's not.
So now, would anyone in the room like to be a drummer? Okay, we have one. Anybody else? Now, just to be sure, does anybody here want to be a fire truck? One of you can have a seat here and one can have a seat there. And I did tune these this morning, and with the weather, they've kind of tuned a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is together we're going to play something that's based on what a traditional bembeng would be. Okay, so you, right or left-handed? Right. Right-handed. So you're going to start actually with the left. The pattern is going to play. That goes. Okay, no, you're free to hit it. Okay, you right or left-handed? Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so you're going to play. Make sure this right. Keep going. So those of you who took shakes, this is where you feel free to join in. Rock and roll ending. All right, so who doesn't feel better after that? Okay. So the concept behind this is we each took a part. A lot of times, like a really well-constructed drum circle, everybody who's playing will be assigned a part. What I didn't do today is I didn't start out with the heartbeat pattern. And the reason I didn't do that yet is because I wanted to kind of show you how the drums each play a role, they kind of communicate with each other. You played your part on the quinto. On the segunda, you played your part, and then on the tumbao, I played the lead, which in a traditional bembe, unlike mambos and most other Latin jazz, the lead drum actually is the biggest, deepest drum. Whereas in most Latin jazz, most modern music today, the quinto tends to be the lead drum. And if you think of it in terms of drum set, that's your snare drum. This is your bass, and that's the toms. So it's just kind of a different aspect, a different mentality behind it. But this happens all over the world. You'll notice I brought some Middle Eastern instruments, some other African instruments. When I started doing this, I started out on drum set because it's really cool to hit things and make them make noise without hurting anybody. But I kind of fell in love with global percussion initially with Middle Eastern music, and then kind of went around the globe learning all of these other drums. Believe it or not, when I started congas, somebody said, "Can you play congas?" I said, "Get me a set, I'll figure it out." But then I met other drummers along the way. Had a really great, I always called him a mentor because he wasn't really a teacher, but he was kind of a teacher. He's the one who gave me the nickname Obi. He was originally Yoruba from Nigeria. And I had a long time of playing with him, playing with his band and things like that. So it, again, introducing me to other cultures as I went along and having a much greater understanding of, you know, what just shy of half of America is so against today. You know, things are not that scary. Things can be actually quite fascinating. They can be quite beautiful if we all just kind of step back. And music has been a big part of that for me. And you already know this. Does anybody else know what was the other big part of this? food. There are two ways to learn about any culture. Their music and their food. So I like to cook too, but Heidi hasn't booked me for a cooking workshop yet. So, all right, so I'm going to pass out a few more instruments, and I'm going to give somebody else a turn with the bigger drum. Okay? And you, young man, you're allowed to play drums too if you want. Well, I'm going to play a smaller drum. Okay. I do have the rain stick. I set aside my big one this morning, and it's still sitting by the door. So if anybody wants, this is actually Diane's. She found this in the free pile. Do you want to use the rain stick? So you know what? This one, normally I wear this, but you can play this one.
All right, Dan, here you go.
Yes, you can stand that one, yes. Okay, now, I know this is your favorite drum. Do you want one of the other chairs? I do want to make mention, anybody playing like the doombecks and the kungas, if you are wearing rings, you may want to take them off to avoid blisters or damage to your rings. I have one more doombeck. Okay. Okay. You can play that between your knees.
Yeah.
Traditionally, if I may share a second. Traditionally, it would be played across the knee, right, left hand on top, right hand front. But you can play between the knees like a djembe.
Okay.
So this one, we'll leave the kungas out just for a minute. Okay. So if you're going to lead. You okay with that? So you're going to play just a simple. Okay. Those of you who have doombecks, so for the sound, you get your bass tone out of the center. Okay. Now that one doesn't have a very deep bass, but that's okay. Okay. You're going to play boom, 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 That was a nice ending.
Thank you. Wasn't even trying.
Okay, so that rhythm is actually called melody. It's kind of a nice, for lack of a better term, unifying rhythm. Simple to learn. The parts are all simple. You were able to play the bottom on the two part over here. The two of you were able to play the basics of the rhythm on the doumbeks, and of course our shakers were all in perfect timing, including the raise stick. And I think, let's see, I need a couple more drummers on congas. Can I get a couple volunteers? Okay.
I'll take that.
Okay, so, yeah, you can sit there. I need one more. One more brave person. And then does somebody else want Diane's doumbek? Does anybody else want this one? That's right, the rhythm is simple. All right, so this one. So for this, to kind of get that bass note out, you might want to tilt yours backwards just a little bit. Kind of bring it closer to you. If okay, you can tilt it that way. Or if you notice, I actually tilt mine the opposite way. Whichever works better for you, you're going to kind of hold it in place with your knees. Okay? Because we want a good, solid bass tone. Good and flat-handed. And if somebody else wants to take the two part and kind of bubble that bass tone right there. Okay, so right. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, unless you prefer your right or left hand. I always ask because if you're left-handed, sometimes the drum has to be positioned a little bit differently. But in this case, this is a children's rhythm. Okay. You always ask me to do it. Aki wo. There's a song that goes with it, but again, I'm not going to sing it. The lyrics are Aki wo wo. How's it go again? Aki wo wo aloko ile, Aki wo wo aloko ile, jewe beef dele, jewe baba bi dele, jewe baba bi dele, Aki wo wo aloko ile. Which means, train conductor, take me home. Excuse me. But the rhythm that goes with it, and like I said, when you hear it sung, the rhythm kind of gets to a tempo and it stays there. But the idea is we're going to pick up the tempo on this, and you'll hear it sounds kind of like a train. So it's very simple. Actually, and in a little while, you'll feel it. Your hands will start to tingle a bit. And so I'm no scientist. Um, Although I did pass my science classes in school. I've never really been a scientist, but this is where I'm going to talk about the health aspects of it. We just got our heart rates up. Okay. Those of us who play the drum, our fingers are probably tingling right now. I can feel mine. That's your blood flow is going down, which is one of the big things we need to do. Our heart rates are up, so, breathe in nice and deeply. But the other aspect, many members here are in their older years. I'm nearing my older years. What is the number one thing psychologically that we need to find to be healthy, especially mentally healthy? Companionship may be there, but it has to bring something. Community is another one. Again, it has to bring something. We can bring it ourselves, but what we do, what we get involved in needs to bring something for us as well. And that's joy. The number one thing that we as human beings need to remain healthy, especially emotionally healthy, is joy. And it's hard sometimes to really find that. How many of us have a community we go to and we get there, we just feel awful? It's for a lot of us, that community can be our jobs and the people we have to work around. We come places like this because it can bring us joy to be around people who, even if they don't think like us, at least value how we feel and can respect how we feel, and obviously we bring it back. How does drumming apply to this? Because sometimes I work with other drummers and they make me miserable. They do, but not always. Not always. This brings me joy in the sense that I get to share it. Okay? And I may have taught you a couple of rhythms today, but I didn't really teach you anything. I shared what I know. And that's even what teaching is to me. It's not about giving somebody a lesson. It's not about you gave them something new to learn. It's about sharing your experience. And that's what does it for me. Some of you might play guitar and be able to do that for somebody else. Some of you might dance, or some of you might cook. When you do it for others, or when you share it with others, it brings joy. And when they like it, what does it bring you? Joy. Joy, very good. We live in a world today where joy is kind of hard to find. And believe it or not, I made a decision to go back to school and get my degree. In what? Education. What is trying to be destroyed right now? Now, just for the record, all week long I've been dealing with the DMV. Mr. Musk has targeted the wrong organization. Blow up the DMV, not education. But it's like, I see all these things, and I work in a school district that is majority minority. And ICE has been to our district twice already in the last couple of months. Now, fortunately, nobody's been taken. But I work with a student who was from Haiti. Besides being autistic, he's schizophrenic. And in August, they're planning on revoking all of those visas. What hope is he going to have if he goes back there? So, I come home and I think about all these things. Then I go out and I teach drums. So then I get to hit things, which feels good. But I get to share my experience about playing with other people. And hopefully I will have, actually I do have a couple of students who have far exceeded me, which is a good thing. So that's where we are today. We have to find our joy. This does it for me. So we're going to end this, instead of starting with that heartbeat rhythm, we're going to end it with one. Something more peaceful, something more meditative. Okay? So if somebody would like, they may play this drum, and I'm going to take over the heartbeat on my big red drum.
And they want to take over.
Yeah. I'll-
And before we even start, we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. Yep, just to the center of the drum. Are we ready to keep that going? It's time to say, thank you, and on behalf of the band and myself, we hope you enjoyed the audition. Oh, yeah, this is awful.
Obi, thank you. I don't think my heart has beaten this fast since I was in labor.